Behavioral economics is what we will be talking in today's video. So let us understand what are the objectives. First and foremost, behavioral economics grew out of a research in psychology, the way we think, the way we carry our thought process in our mind. The objective is to modify, supplement, and enrich economic theory by adding insights from psychology, suggesting that the people care about things standard theories typically ignores, like fairness or status, allowing for the possibility of predictable mistake thereby. That is what we are talking in terms of behavioral theories. Methods. Behavioral economics uses a multiple methods, multiple tools and framework as a standard economics, which are almost identical with the standard economics, assumes individuals have well-defined objective, that objectives and actions are connected and actions affect well-being, relies on the mathematical model, subject theories to careful empirical testing. An important difference is that this BE stands for behavioral economics, often relies on the experiments of human subject. Behavioral economics tends to use experimental data to test their theories rather than the historical data in the real world. So that is what behavioral theorists or behavioral economists will be talking about it. We are going to study about the human behavior with respect to finance. What do they do in a laboratory condition, in an ideal condition, and in a condition which is in a real like world with no stipulation already put in forward. How these two groups will be changing. And believe me, behavioral economics does not rely on the past data. They will actually create information out of the real life settings and ideal settings, the data that needs to be happening just in front of them. So yes, they are relying on the mathematical model. Yes, they would study every object, every subject theories carefully on by our empirical testing method. So yes, behavioral economics use variants of traditional economic assumption, often with a psychological motivation to explain and perhaps to predict behaviors and to provide policy prescription. This was stated in 2015 by Lebson and List. So two kind of system, if I may say so, as for Kanban. System number one operates automatically, operates quickly, with little or in fact no effort at all, with no sense of voluntary control. It is in a real life setting that you are going around about it. And that is what system number one is all about it. System number two allocates attention to the effortful activity. You have been in a controlled environment that demands including a complex computations. The operation of system 2 are often associated with the subject experience of choices, perhaps, and that we need to understand in an ideal condition and in a real life settings with no restriction being in place. So, how do a person behave? Kahneman Daniel 2011, Thinking Fast and Slow, New York, stated around here. Now let us come and discuss which is system 1 and which is system 2. What is the difference and what is the similarity? Remember, system 1 is all about love, emotional, being fast, reflexive, effortless, impulsive, short-sighted, without much of a deep thought. It is what your heart believes, so give it. In fact, it is instantaneous. What about system 2? It is all analytical, slow, calculative, reflective, effortful, deliberately, and being patient. And that is what the difference is all about it between the system 1 and system 2. Remember, system 1 thinks from the heart as an immediate reaction. System 2 thinks from the brain and will take a calculated decision thereby. The issue, what is it all about it? Economics weights the cost and benefit of alternative before coming to a choices. And isn't that what economics is all about it? Humans, on the other hand, will use the cost and benefit, but can be influenced by other factors when making a choice, perhaps relationship, perhaps ease of doing, perhaps looking at your comfort zone. So the issues are different for economics and the human being thereby. So principle of behavioral economics, people try to choose the best feasible option, but they sometimes don't succeed perhaps. Although we mostly care about our own material payoff, we also care about reaction. We also care of what the other people will be thinking. We also need to know the intentions and the payoff of the others thereby. And that is what the principles of behavioral economics would let me know. Remember, people care in part about how the circumstances compare to the reference point thereby. People have a self-control problems. They might be instinctive. They might have an habitual towards it. They might have some form of fear or greed in them, as the case might be. So, do we need to understand behavioral economics perfectly? Yes, because people make mistake when faced with certain types of decision, and I'm talking about opportunity cost dilemma. So, by understanding why, when they are likely to make mistake, people avoid errors altogether. Being a good economist means understanding when we are likely to be human as possible. A human being at times make error, but an expert never. So comparing economics and human beings, economics using this system two for all decision, economics brain. Whereas human will always use the system one to make routine decision. Economics would carefully weigh the cost and benefit to make the decision, whereas many decisions are made on quick judgment or even on the past experiences. Economics are not subject to cognitive biases when making decision. Humans are subject to cognitive biasness when making decisions. So many of their anchors and falls into relativity trap. Economics make decision by weighing cost and benefits equally, but human tends to weight losses greater than the gains. And economics are not influenced by their current situation when making decision, but human beings tends to bias everything to a default or things that they already have. Economics many discount cost and benefit that occurs in the future. Humans may have self-control problem, may discount the future too much or be subject to a present biasness, causing inconsistent decision. Economics only use cost and benefits to make decision. Human may make decision based on fairness or for other emotional factor succeeding whether the work is meaningful or not. So motivation remains. There are two motivations for behavioral economics concerning apparent weaknesses and economic theory. People tend to make choices that are difficult to explain with standard economic theory. Standard economic theory seems seemingly unreasonable conclusions about consumer welfare, and that is what we are trying to avoid per se. Remember, so biasness towards status quo. Everybody would love to be in their comfort zone. The endowment effect. The endowment effect is a people tendency to value something more highly when they own it rather than when they don't. Example, experiment in which median owner value of marks were tough, roughly twice the median owner valuation who don't own a mug. Some economists think this reflects something fundamental about the nature of preferences. Incorporating the endowment effect with standard theory, implicit and indifference, curved, kinked at the consumer initial consumption bundle. So that is what we need to go. Smooth change in price, yield abrupt change in consumption. If there are changes, if there are smooth changes, there would be abrupt changes in consumption, smooth changes in price. Remember, the likelihood of adaptability of that consumer gets changes or preferred by a substitute product in most of the cases. Remember, endowment effect is an effect of what you have is to be valued much more than what you don't have. So you will not, you are not willing to take a risk just to gain something good, something new product, new goals, but you are also going to take the risk with the calculation that what you have might be lost. So it has been valued much more in that direction. We'll come to the default effect as towards the status quo. When confronted with many alternatives, people sometimes avoid making choices, end up with the option that is assigned as default. Why? Because there are too many of alternatives, they are confused. and probably they would take whatever has been given to them. Example, experiment showing that more subjects kept $1.50 participation fee rather than trading it for much more valuable fees price when a list of price to choose from was lengthened altogether. Possible explanation is that psychological cost of decision making rises as a number of alternative rises, increasing the number of people who accept the default price of $1.50. So you have something in your position, and then you are being asked to trade risk for an alternative things with the things that you have. So if the list is less, probably you might think once or twice. But if you have innumerable lists, you will say it's better to have one bird in your hand rather than two, three, four in the bushes per se. And that is what the default status is all about it. Retirement saving example illustrate the default effect where the stakes are very high. With this, I come to an end of this video. Thank you for watching it.